Hello, everyone, and welcome to Resilient. Oh, I apologize. That is the wrong one.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Start winging it, Susan.
Yeah, I'm like, I can be resilient. What do we need to talk about?
I apologize. Good morning and welcome to Technology Enhancement for Mediation and How to Get Your Clients on Board, presented by Susan Guthrie, Esquire, and Gary Dornhafer, Esquire, sponsored by ADR Notable. If you are requiring MCLE credit and or MC3 credit for this workshop, please make sure that the name that appears on your Zoom account is the name that matches your state bar. If you did not provide us with your state bar number, please send me a chat or email me at info@scmediation.org. Lastly, this event is being recorded. You will receive a link to all the workshops from the conference, along with the certificate of attendance for those workshops that qualify for MCLE and MC3 in the next 7 to 10 business days. If you have any questions regarding the event, please feel free to send me a chat. And at this moment, I would like to introduce Gary Dornhafer, Esquire, for ADR Notable, who is our Platinum Workshop sponsor today.
Thanks very much, Tisha. I appreciate that introduction. Given the delay, I think we should just launch right in here. If I can share my screen.
Well, I think Ashley has the intro.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our session today. It's such an honor to introduce both of our presenters. Susan Guthrie, she's an incredible family law attorney and mediator, an SCMA board member. She serves on the executive council for ABA's section of dispute resolution and is the co-founder of Mostyn Guthrie Academy for mediation and collaborative training. On top of that, she's just an amazing human being. We also have Gary Dornhafer here. He is a former general counsel who transmuted that experience into a successful tech entrepreneurial piece and is the founder of ADR Notable, which is one of our wonderful sponsors.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ashley.
Okay, so I was raring to go here. So now we're ready. Shift to
all you.
Screen. Okay. I need permission to do that, however. There we go. And okay, am I there? Oh, I have no sound now.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just checking to make sure that the right screen is being shared.
Yes, you're all set.
That's what I wanted to make sure. Okay, good. All right, well, thanks everybody. Sorry for the little confusion getting started here. It's of course, the technology guy who has the technology problems. That seems perfect. So the presentation we're going to do here is going to really proceed in sort of 3 parts. There's a little introduction that talks about the need for dispute resolution industry to adopt some technology. In your materials, there's an article by Professors Allison Carroll and Noam Ebner that is just really terrific on this point, and I would highly recommend you take a look at that. Second is that Susan then is going to talk about how to employ some of this new technology and ensure that your clients are comfortable and on board. And then last, we'll take a quick tour of some of the technology that's available today and even take a quick peek into the future. So here's how we get started. I mean, technology, if you look at research on client perception of service quality, and this just goes across any service industry, we can focus on who are the clients. And today, the average age for people going through a divorce is 30, and the average C-suite executive is 54. So, what does that tell us? When they come to you, are they more likely to expect this picture of the old school, sort of books and pad and pen, or are they more likely to expect this? And one way really of answering that question right away is, what are they using every day? So I think we can start, we need to start with a perception of service from the client's perspective, right? So what are some of those factors? And this comes out of the kind of, as I mentioned, sort of this research about how to measure client perception of service quality in a personal service industry. So it's not, it's not really unique. We've sort of modified it to fit the dispute resolution world coming from other professional services. The first and most obvious way people do this is the ease of process, just were the mechanics of getting the service easy. Was the intake easy, scheduling, convenience in terms of timing or location? Did I have to travel? Could I do it online? Could I do it on my schedule? Completion of the process, was there a successful outcome? Did we move progressively towards success? And then the last step is just the billing and payment process. Did I get a timely bill, and was it easy to pay? The next category in client perception is whether just the interaction itself is satisfying. And this is largely the personal aspect of personal service. I mean, were you a good communicator? Was the ease of communication good? Did the participants feel like they were being heard and there was a minimum amount of distraction? Was the mediator or providing the personal service provider responsive? Did they seem empathetic? And did they seem informed and professional in their attitude and conduct? This one, professionalism, kind of stemming from the last one, there's some more detail that often the research goes into. And this is just the perception of the participant, whether you were prepared, were you knowledgeable about the necessary subject matter? Did you seem confident in your approach to managing the process and delivering the service? Did the process seem fair and reasonable? And there is, as we'll talk about, a strong sense these days, given kind of what's going on in the rest of the world and many other industries, was there an adequate sense of protection of the confidentiality of the process and the data security that was involved in it? And last, of course, is when all is said and done, this is probably the biggest single factor, which is, did the recipient of the service feel as though they received value for their dollar? And in things like legal services and counseling and other professional skills, there is this problem of whether the client is being asked to pay a professional hourly rate for a lot of administrative work that's necessary, but really shouldn't be drawing the same price tag as what you're really there to do. This is an interesting context. So at the very moment where there are good reasons to believe that your clients expect you to be using some technology, but we're also in this crisis of trust in the technology industry. And this graph, it's a little bit small, but the short version here is that Edelman, the public perception firm, a PR firm, does an annual survey on whether people trust various industries across our country. And technology actually fell from the #1 trusted industry in 2020 to #9 in 2021. So we're in this interesting dilemma of perception that some technology ought to be used, but a high degree of trust of the bigger picture technology industry. So now this one goes over to you, Susan, I think, to make this a little more specific to the context.
Oh, there we go, unmuted. So another survey that I think makes this a little more understandable, at least from the perspective of mediation from our industry, working online and video conferencing, which is really where we've leapt to. Is this is another survey that was done through LinkedIn, and this is actually a year old. So I think many of these numbers may even be, I don't know if 98% could be higher, but you know, when we're talking about the reality as we go into post-COVID, 58% of our workforce is expecting to work 8 or more days per month from home. I think, in fact, that is the one that is probably even higher. And then here's where that dichotomy comes in, or that juxtaposition of satisfaction and dissatisfaction. We have 98% of meetings will include the participants who are joining remotely. Now we're talking about all meetings there, but as we go into post-COVID world, we have to expect that that trend will also permeate our mediations, our arbitrations, our hearings, things that we are doing. So people are expecting to be able to be remote, but 98% of participants who are remote express frustrations with video conferencing when they're working remotely. And I think that has something to do with why we've seen technology drop from the top most trusted down to the middle, because we're doing it, we want to do it, we're expecting to do it, but we're not always doing it well. So we have this, we want to be able to use the technology, the video conferencing, the online world, work from home, but is it getting done properly? And this really falls into, for us as professionals, two sort of categories. So I'm going to break this down. Gary was talking, and up to now, I've been talking sort of at this high level. I'm now going to get a little granular into some ways that we as mediators can actually dive in and start using technology and helping our clients so that we have that satisfaction as we go forward. So we can incorporate the technology to meet their needs and also have a positive client experience. And by the way, a positive practitioner experience. Just not able to advance. Oh, there we go. So we have, the expectation, as you saw from what Gary was talking about, that we're going to use technology, but we have that list of concerns. I want to cover some practical solutions. And some of this is going to harken back now to the ease of process slide that Gary showed. That people are looking for easy intake, easy scheduling, convenience in doing their process, completing their process easily, and payment, having that done easily. So let's talk about some of these and how technology can help us. And I'm going to just dive into the first. Now, here's where I'm getting into just some actual technology applications that you could today go and add into your practice to add to that ease of process for your clients. And by the way, make it life easier for yourselves. And part of this is in that scheduling. And this is an area where I continue to see people do the email back and forth of, I don't know, are you available next Monday at 12? Wednesday at 4 p.m. And then you get the email back, well, are you talking Pacific time or Central time? And it goes back and forth, and it will make you mad. If it makes you crazy, what do you think it's doing to your clients as you are trying to schedule? And it doesn't matter if you're doing it or your assistant is doing it or your practice manager is doing it. It's still frustrating for the clients. And there's an easy way to resolve this. You can adopt a scheduling program. I've been using Calendly for about 2 years now. It's the one that I love to use, but there's Acuity scheduling, Simply Book. Gary, in fact, you and ADR Notable are going to be launching a really innovative scheduling program through ADR Notable. Could you just talk about that for a minute? Because it's one that I think is going to take this practical application up a level.
Sure. So thanks. We did a lot of work to try and find the right tool. And so, our first choice was to find a tool, somebody else who would solve this problem and not have to build something from scratch. So we spent a lot of time at this, and we looked at Calendly, and we looked at several of these others, and we finally came across another application that's called Calendar Hero. And you link your calendar. You can say, okay, for this case, I'm trying to schedule a half-day session. And when you link it, the way we're going to build it out into ADR Notable is it'll pull the email addresses for your case over into the tool. You'll basically say, I need a half-day session between December 7th and December 20th. And you hit the button, and it'll send a link to everyone who needs to be there. And when they hit that link, it will be accessing your calendar in real time. So they will then choose as many, like Calendly, as many as they will work on their schedule. When it finds one that works, it'll book it instantly, and it'll do everything else. It'll send the confirmation, it'll send the Zoom information, it'll send everything you need to get out there. And the interesting thing is you can do this with multiple cases at once because it's real time. So as soon as one case confirms and takes that block off your calendar or books it, then the last person in another case who uses the link will never see that window as an option. So you don't have to pay any attention to this thing. It will schedule for you.
Yeah, so to me, it's like the doodle poll of calendars, right? They've taken doodle polling and they've smushed it into the calendar integration. I love this. Can't wait for it to be a part of ADR Notable because it's next level. But for now, this, using Calendly, or Acuity or Simply Book, or just go Google some of this technology. And I just want to talk a little bit about why and how it all works. So one of the reasons why it's so helpful is that you can just then put on your website a link so that people can go straight from your website to your calendar, to your available time, and book with you. There's no more of that back and forth or your assistant, or anybody having to do any outreach. You can also put that link in your email signature and in other communications so that people know how they can get in touch with you right away. I have it in my social media. I have it on my LinkedIn profile. People can book all the time without ever having spoken to me. And we'll talk about how I protect myself because I know there will be questions about that. But you can also send out links to people. Like I get a lot of requests for people who are like, hey, can I pick your brain for a little bit? I love to talk and brainstorm with colleagues, but I have limited amounts of time. So I can send out a preset time frame. I can send out a link for a 15-minute call, a 30-minute call, a 20-minute call, whatever time frame I have available, and send that out. I can also, and here's one of the ways you protect yourself, I can block out time or just say, I'm only going to do those brainstorming calls on Mondays. And that's the only date they're ever going to see, or dates and times that are available, because that's the date that I'm going to do it. You can also create different types of meetings for different types of clients. So one of the things that as practitioners we can be doing is, especially as we work online, is providing different and more kinds of services to our clients. This is an example of some of the different meeting types I have on my Calendly. So what you're looking at right here is my Calendly appointment screen. I have business and marketing meetings that has a link, divorce in a better way mediation sessions. You can book my podcast tapings right here, depending on which one. There's that magical 15-minute meeting where I'm able to like talk with someone, but still limit my time. And all you do is click copy link, and that's what I paste into the email to send back to them. They then go to the calendar, book their time. The other one that Gary mentioned in that ease of process, what clients are looking for is paying you. I have to tell you, someone the other day that did services for me mailed me a paper bill and asked me to write out a check, find an envelope, address it, get a stamp, and go put it in the mail. My head exploded. I'm like, who does that? I haven't written it. I don't even know where my checkbook is. I was like, can I pay by credit card? Can I send you a Venmo? Can I PayPal? Please don't make me do this. I couldn't do that. That is not ease of payment. The world we live in today, our clients are not expecting to have to whip out a checkbook anymore. It doesn't happen in their world. They are Venmoing their kids their allowance. They pay the guy who mows their lawn by PayPal. They buy clothes, through whatever online, credit card. So you need to make it easier for your clients to pay you. And there's a benefit. We get paid faster. The easier it is for your clients to pay you, the faster you're actually going to get paid. So how do you do this? And this is probably another one that you've thought of or you're using, but get on PayPal, get on Square, use LawPay. They are very helpful and provide the clients with a myriad of different ways to pay you. They also give you different ways to get paid. So I happen to use PayPal. I get links. And I can they can go to my website, click the link for payment, put in their invoice number, and just pay that right there, knowing they can do that on the website. Or I can create an invoice right through PayPal that has a button right in it. They pay it right from that. I can tell you, as soon as I started getting paid this way and sending out those invoices, I almost always get paid within a couple of hours of when an invoice goes out by email. And all it is for me is changing the amount in the date of service and hitting send once I've created that invoice. So, sorry. So next is the data gathering. That was another area that Gary mentioned, that ease of process is something that clients are looking for. And I still talk to everyday practitioners who are using paper forms that they want their clients to fill out, that they send them either by email or still through the mail. And it's just, we've hit that point where nobody wants to put pen to paper anymore. There are very simple ways to create online forms for your clients. These are just a few free technology apps out there, JotForm, Google Docs, Typeform, where you can create, you name a type of form to gather information from your clients, and you can do that through this. I've been using JotForm myself for a couple of years, and I use it in so many different ways. I could spend the rest of this discussion talking about the different ways that I use it. So these are all some of the ways where you can automate and use technology to add to that ease of process that clients are looking for and expecting. But I want to talk about the next level, the next step, which is really the integrations. And Gary kind of talked about this a minute ago when he was talking about with the new calendaring that they're going to have with ADR Notable, and then what will happen when people book it. But I'm going to talk about, just give you an example of an integration that I use that sort of shows you how I've taken some of these technologies that we've just talked about and how I've brought them together into a workflow that makes my life easy and the lives of my clients easy. So I do coaching for clients, all different types of coaching, but I have a Calendly link on my website that says book an hour of coaching with Susan. So somebody goes to my website or in my social media or on my LinkedIn or somewhere, they see this, book an hour of coaching with Susan. They click the link and it will take them to my PayPal account that charges them for the hour of the coaching. So they pay for it through PayPal. They then go to the calendar, pick their date. They get an email with a Zoom link. It goes on my calendar. I get the Zoom link as well. And they get a link to the JotForm that I've created that says, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to meeting with you. Please, if you would provide me with the following information, it will help me give you better service, do more for you if you can give me, some information ahead of time. And then that JotForm also goes into my calendar so that I can access that before we ever meet. So I have on my calendar a fully paid for hour of coaching with all of the information from the client. And I've never talked to or had interaction with that client. They feel that it was easy to do. I do these meetings probably between 5 and 20 times a week. It just depends on the week. Clients love this. I love it. I go, I know, I meet, I talk to them, we talk about what more I can do for them. I refer them to other professionals, whatever it is. That is an integration. Now, Calendly has the ability to integrate. So that's how I could attach my PayPal account, attach my Zoom account, and attach my Jotform account. So there are all different ways to do integrations. Some of them you can do right through these applications, or you can use something like Zapier, which allows you to connect all your different accounts and then set up your own workflows. It's not a lot of work and it's not a high learning curve. But for you, once you've created these workflows, and you can create as many of them as you want, it's like a one and done. Once they're done, you put it on your website, you put it in your email signature, wherever you're going to go, and it's all taken care of. So the other issue I want to make sure we cover, because we've talked about that ease of process for the clients, but now we have that alternate problem, right? The dissatisfaction with the technology. They are frustrated with the technology. They have fear around the technology. And believe it or not, there are still people who, I know we all think everyone knows how to use Zoom because we spend so much time on it. Every single day, I meet with people who don't know what a breakout room is, who don't know how to share their screen, who don't know how to unmute themselves on Zoom. So we cannot presume everyone knows how to do everything. So how do we as practitioners deal with the frustration and the fear that our clients might be having? I have to tell you that onboarding them properly, giving them the appropriate information is the key to this. And this is our responsibility. We as practitioners should never, I think Dr. Deborah said this in the last presentation with Bill and Harold, assume. We all know what assume stands for, right? You cannot assume that your clients have the technology that they need, all of the equipment, all of the programs. Don't assume that they have that little mini virtual studio in their office. That you cannot assume that they know how to use all of the technology that you're going to be using. You cannot assume that they understand all the privacy and confidentiality rules around using this for a mediation, an arbitration, and a hearing. And you should be giving them an opportunity to practice, whether they know that's what it is or not. So how do we do that? And there's these sort of go from easiest to more complicated. Handouts. Are you giving your clients from the minute that they are thinking about hiring you? And you can automate this, by the way, when they schedule that consultation, go back to that workflow. You can send them these handouts, right? That talk about all of those things that were on the slide, the information that they need, the equipment that they need, the rules around confidentiality and privacy and everything else. You can put it in handouts. That should be going to them immediately and should be reviewed. I also, for my clients, created a short video that they get a link to that lives on my YouTube's channel that just walks them through the process. It's me with a screen share video that shows them what Zoom does and what all of the different technologies that I use do. You can train your staff members to onboard them and set up a 15-minute pre-mediation training session for your clients. Have your assistant do it. Do it yourself. And then pre-mediation meetings, and this is, I know Dr. Deborah's out there. She and I have spoken on the importance of pre-mediation meetings in several presentations that we have done, because this is something that sort of falls by the wayside so often. And it's really one of our best opportunities, not only to start establishing the emotional, rapport and start to get to know our clients, it's also the opportunity to make sure that they know how to use the technology, to make sure that you can subtly see where they may be lacking if they are looking at you like this in your pre-mediation meeting and all you can see is their forehead. That might be a great time to just gently suggest to them that they angle it down so that you can see their entire face. You may even want to have that conversation about how important it is to be able to see someone's facial expression online, because so much of our communication, 58%, is someone's facial expression. So ideally, it wouldn't be one of these or two of these. It's very easy to do all of these. You have the handouts, they go to the clients, you give them a link to the video. Your staff members should all know how to onboard your clients, and you should be doing those pre-mediation meetings to give them the opportunity. You should be doing them on the platform in the format that you would be doing your sessions in, so that they have, that may be their only practice session, but it is a practice session. So we have the power to make this easy for them, to make this comfortable for them. And we can do it overtly and tell them that we're doing that. Or if we don't think that that's the approach we want, we can do it subtly by just incorporating it and making it a part of our process. I give all my clients these handouts. I give all my clients the video. I really suggest you just take 3 minutes to watch that. If you have any questions, always know you can reach out to my assistant, Betty. She can walk you through, and we'll set up an appointment with you at any time. And I really look forward to meeting you for that 1 hour pre-mediation meeting on, June 5th. So I think it's something to be thinking about, that we have the power to make that entire process easier for our clients. And think about another thing Gary talked about, client perception. What are you creating for your client when you give them all of this information? You have made it so easy for them. Are you creating a perception that you are the master of your online universe? You absolutely are. That you know your technique, that you know your platform, that you know how to do this mediation online for them. And that is really important. The technology is something that you have the grasp of. So sorry, didn't mean to jump on your slide there, Gary. I'm gonna stop sharing and let you go from there.
Okay, take a pic. So this is a quick sort of summary now of what we've just been talking about. So what are the takeaways from this portion of it? And first, it's ease of use. Use familiar technology if it's possible. So Zoom maybe over something else, because maybe more people know Zoom. But use things that are a little bit more familiar. And if not familiar, just make sure it's simple. Transparency is very important. Nobody in this, in these studies about the confidence in technology or the trust in technology, this black box thing was a recurring theme. Nobody likes this notion that my data, my information goes off into some black box and I don't know what is happening to it. I don't know how it's being used, and I don't know how it's being protected. So be open and obvious about what you're collecting from your clients, what you're doing with it, whether Zoom is being recorded or not. I mean, all these things add to the confidence your clients will have in the use of technology. This is a big one, privacy and data security. This is hard. This is a little technical, but honestly, this is something, and I do another whole hour talk about this. Maybe I can get the folks at SCMA to invite me back, but there's some basic things you can do to at least reach a reasonable level of your activity in data protection. And it's important that you do it. And it's never going to be perfect, but the basics will go a long way to protect you from problems. Reliability, really, this is a question of whether the participants are ready to use it. This is what Susan's really been talking about. And I was just noting Deborah's comment in the chat. And then this one is, we're a long way from this, I think, in most people's practices, but any of this automated decisioning, or even automated recommendations, and we can talk about a few of the tools that actually do this. We're not there yet. People are not very don't have a great deal of trust in, letting the machine make the decision. Keep the human, keep your judgment in the loop, clearly. So So look, pandemic got us started. I mean, we all jumped into enhanced customer service using technology because we all, had to adopt at least the online version of providing our services. And Susan, of course, just led the world in this, led the industry in this. She had figured this out years before the pandemic ever struck. In fact, as I was listening to Susan, I'm sort of laughing about, we at ADR Notable spend hours and hours trying to figure out our product roadmap. What features are we going to add next? And we're doing billing. Actually, billing is next. Calendar will be by the end of the year. But in the future, I think I'm just going to use that Calendly link for Susan, sign up for an hour of coaching and ask her what I should be building next. That'd be a lot easier, I think. But here we go. So what else is out there? This is the section I mentioned at the beginning. We're going to talk a little bit about, a little quick tour of what's available. Now, and I should say that in the materials, as I did this research for it, I found three very extensive lists of technology for the dispute resolution field. And I recommend, you're taking a look at any of those. One of them is particularly interesting. It's a little more, there's a little more discussion than just gathering the names of these various companies and putting them on a list. And that's an article that was recently published by Professor Amy Schmitz at the University of Missouri Law School. So I would recommend in the materials we submitted to SCMA for this, there is a copy of that article. I've tried to go into this for you and create some categories, but I have to say, I did that. It's a little bit of an artificial exercise because these tools don't fit neatly into buckets, but we're going to talk about some of them and give some examples. So the 5 buckets I've created, there is an effort to create software that will replace you, frankly. It's the do-it-yourself, no third-party dispute resolution technology. And we'll talk a little bit about it. The short story here is I wouldn't lose any sleep over it yet. Maybe the next generation will struggle with this, but not in our lifetimes, I don't think. The next is just intended primarily for virtual communication. So it's platforms like Zoom, case and practice management tools. These are the things that try and do a little bit of everything for you, from intake to scheduling, to tracking your documents from your clients and keeping track of where you are in your case and so forth. There's niche software, which provides tools for very specific applications. And I'll give you an example of that. And then there are hybrid combinations that run this entire spectrum, including even the platform that starts with do-it-yourself. So let me give you some quick examples, and then we'll do a little fun glimpse into the future of technology. So this is examples of do-it-yourself negotiation platforms that don't use a third party. eBay, obviously, the most famous of these, and it actually works extremely well, but it works well because of its context. There are probably a relatively short list of the types of disputes that it needs to resolve. I paid for it and it didn't arrive, or I shipped it and never got paid, or there's going to be a very short list of those issues. It has an immense volume of data, which allows you to actually train artificial intelligence, machine learning techniques to recognize these types of problems and actually even then help generate a discussion between the two disputing parties. So that's the most famous one. And in its context, it's remarkably successful. A couple other examples are Smart Settle and Conflict Team. Smart Settle is a comprehensive platform that it's intended for the participants to try and use. And then Conflict Team uses a technology referred to as blind bidding, which it really works very well when the situation is, for some communication problem between the parties, they're just not able to talk. But if they sat down and said, what's the what if the claimant said, what's the lowest amount I would possibly take for this matter, for this injury you have caused me? And the other party, the defendant or the other party says, what's the most I would possibly pay? They would learn there was overlap. And really this conflict team and SmartSelect to some extent uses this blind bidding process that neutralizes the emotions and just lets them talk about numbers across a platform without fighting. So again, a limited perspective on what it can solve, but it's a technology that's out there. Then there's the virtual communications platforms. We're all obviously familiar with Zoom, since we're all sitting on Zoom now. There's Modron, which combines like text messaging type communication, as well as synchronous, that meaning real time, like video into a single platform that tries to facilitate communications between disputing parties. Then there's Legaler and Mediation, both of which were specifically developed for legal context. So they went very far into ensuring confidentiality and various specific tools that help make the context fit better. Next up, a shameless plug is case management. ADR Notable, Caseload Manager probably being the two most well-known. And we are working to be to all those things that Susan talked about in the integration. We're working very hard to just give you one platform where we've done that for you. So you don't have to build that pathway. You subscribe to a single application and off you go.
And if I can just interrupt for a second there, Gary, because I just wanted to mention, so when I first met Gary, it was right at the beginning of COVID. And at that point in time, ADR Notable was really something that I was excited about from the note-taking perspective of what we do as mediators in the room, right? It automated and made the ability to take notes and just keep track of things so much easier. And since that time, and we're really talking in an incredibly short amount of time when it comes to technology, Gary, they brought in or are bringing in all these other technologies that I'm talking about and sort of bringing them under that one umbrella of now there's practice management, there will be payment, e-signatures, calendaring, drafting and all of that. So basically, what Gary and what ADR Notable have done and some other technologies in other areas are doing is becoming sort of that one-stop shopping. So you don't have to go do all those integrations. And one thing I do, he won't say this, but one thing I know about Gary, if there's some other functionality that you want or you think would be helpful, tell him, because they'll add it. I've done that, and you see it in what they are putting out there. So I just wanted to let people know that, Gary.
And you can thank you very much, Susan. That was very, very nice of you to say. And I know you're also a fan of Detour Life, which is an example of the niche software for a very specific context. Maybe you could just keep going a little bit and talk about Detour Life.
Yeah, and this goes back to the ease of process thing that we talked about, in the early slides. We have to remember that we are a service industry and that our clients are looking for the use of technology. They want the process to be made easy for them. They have certain expectancies of using technology. And so what Detour Life did for those of us in the divorce and family law world is took one of the biggest pain points of getting a divorce, which is filling out those horrible forms with all of your financial information and all the data gathering, and made it as simple and easy and intuitive as possible. In fact, I won't say it's fun, but clients actually, just as when I said, if you automate, you're getting paid, you'll get paid faster. How many times have you given out your data forms to your divorce clients, my family law colleagues out there, and then heard crickets for months as you wait for them to fill out those forms because they hate it so much? I get my information relatively quickly, like within a week, from my clients because it's been made as easy as possible. And this is another platform where not only is did the technology start out as, basically data information, and now has a variety of other technologies that Story Jones, the creator, has brought in under the umbrella, because that's what people and practitioners have wanted. So there's always new technology in the pipeline. If you're a family practitioner, I do suggest taking a look at Detour.
Just a quick note. Thanks for that, Susan. A quick note about Next Level. Boy, this is for the folks who love reading about the academic research in negotiation techniques and tactics. They have taken a lot of that work and distilled it into an application for you to use, not your clients. And so it would work in the background for you to help you analyze lots of information about what's going on in a matter and output a result you can work with. And then last, some of the hybrid ones, there's Resolve Disputes Online, RDO. And they're a little hard to get under the covers. You have to schedule a demo with them. And as a competitor, that's a little awkward for me to do. So you have to kind of go to that one yourself, I'm afraid, and find out what's really there. New Era ADR is a company that just launched in Chicago just a few months ago. And it actually starts as a tool for the parties' direct negotiation. But if that fails, it can carry the matter on, bring in a mediator, and then or arbitrators as part of its process. It's very new. Don't know too much more about it, but it's an example of this sort of hybrid that is meshing all of these things that we talked about before. So now in just a minute or two, I'm going to give you a little fun peek into the future. So I've taken just a Zoom screen here, and I've added those little highlights. So you see the little red boxes and the little gray boxes. And the question is, what if technology could help you read the room, read what's going on, particularly in a complex matter with a lot of parties? I don't think it's ready to replace you, but if this display were only available to you, and you could see that whatever you're talking about right now was really motivating the two with the red boxes, and the two with the gray boxes are essentially checked out. And maybe you knew that, maybe you could tell you were reading the room well, and this is just a confirmation, or maybe it's just giving you a little bit more information for you to follow up on. Now, I've got a quick video about this. I'm going to, Susan's gonna laugh at me. I'm gonna stop sharing because I don't remember if I clicked the right button when I shared, Susan. So I'm gonna go back and do it again. Yes, I did, of course. There we go. So there we go. So next slide will lead us into this video with the sound already ready to go.
Almost every emotion we can think of comes with a facial expression. And just as we're good at expressing these emotions, we're good at reading them too. But what if emotion could be understood by artificial intelligence as well?
I think AI is getting better and better, more and more refined. Right now, when you look at the technology around, gesture recognition, facial recognition, sentiment analysis, that type of thing, it's really picking up, I think, many, many emotions.
Artificial intelligence decodes facial muscle articulations in your face, and it also detects the color changes in your face. And that's what humans use to learn to communicate with other people non-verbally.
We will use emotional AI not just to interact with our customers better, but to interact with our colleagues better, with our bosses better. It's going to be a full spectrum way of engaging with human beings.
The ability to assemble and then analyze, huge volumes of data is a great example, I think, in healthcare around rapid diagnosis and potential variety of treatment options.
Medical applications are absolutely the future, and we can make use of them. And doctors are going to use them to diagnose certain psychopathologies or certain diseases.
We have facial recognition, we have the acoustic technologies, we have the haptic technologies, we can do eye tracking.
We're talking about huge volumes of data and put to very sensitive use in a certain respect. And the ethical norms and the ethical parameters that are applied become absolutely critical.
What we're going to be seeing is a convergence of traditional information conveyance with value-added affective and emotional data conveyance. And those things combined are going to be more powerful than those things separate.
Automation is going to free us up from doing many of the tasks that we do now, allowing us to do other things that are much more important and pressing to solve today's problems.
Mankind, womankind is meant to progress, so let's look at an augmentation strategy as opposed to a replacement strategy. And I think, we will all be for the better.
So there you have it, a peek into the future. I don't think it's here tomorrow, but it is an interesting thought process, and I really admired their augmentation strategy approach. They're not suggesting that this is going to replace humans anytime soon, but they really think it is something that could work alongside a human engaged in communications. So that's it for the presentation. I don't know, we have a few moments perhaps to answer some questions, if that's possible.
Yeah, go ahead.
I haven't checked the chat.
I didn't see any questions in the chat. I was just, I was going to, follow up a bit. I did put a link in the chat to a video that shows how Zapier will help you connect some of those, some of the different apps and technologies together. There are a lot of different ways to do that. And these days you'll find many of the apps themselves let you connect them. But the other thing I wanted to mention for those who are used to using Zoom is Zoom has what they call Zaps, and not that many people are using them, but it allows you to do the same thing with your Zoom account, which is to integrate your use of some other technologies. So things like your Dropbox or Box or whatever your document transmission can be integrated right into your Zoom account. Your calendar can be integrated into your Zoom account. Your Slack channel can be integrated into your Zoom account. And the benefit of that is now those things will actually be available to you through the Zap icon on your toolbar as opposed to on just your computer toolbar. And that is something that Zoom is going to be continuing to build out, and that more and more developers are going to be making sure that they are zappable by Zoom, because obviously the holy grail, I think, in the world of technology, at least for professionals, is being able to be used with Zoom, since pretty much everyone in the world is using Zoom in some fashion. Dr. Deborah, I saw you had a question. What kind of timeline do you see with the integration of AI on a more active basis? The facial recognition aspect is similar to Tone Rater, available on our Family Wizard, often used in the parenting divorce plans. Great question. So Gary, I'll let you go first on that. Did we lose him? I think we lost Gary. So I'll just answer it. It's already out there, actually, Dr. D. I mean, it is available and is being used. There's a few of the video platforms that are starting to integrate it. You can actually get the technology and apply it. The problem is it's not already integrated with those video platforms. The timeline on it, honestly, I can't say. I can tell you that in the first quarter of 2022, there will be a newly available new video platform that and DR dispute resolution platform that will be using it. Can't say who it is, but it's coming. So March 2022 at the latest, I suspect. And I think that'll be really interesting. I'd be interested to know what you think about having that technology available to a neutral who is mediating online, Deborah. Just that, somebody's angry or somebody is tuned out, to what degree would that information be helpful and useful to us? Yeah, reading. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things, I mean, it's always been key to in-person or not, but it became even more evident as we, quickly transitioned to the online platform. And we, you and I both heard so many people, challenged with, can't read emotion. How do we deal with this? And there's so many clues if you just know what you're looking for. But this would be a much more visual indicator, like, oh, that was okay. So that's something then you can comment on and draw out more and shift your strategies and how to engage the other person more. Because we're busy doing lots of things when we're online, and so it's hard to always read the facial expressions plus the chat box or whatever is going on. And so I can see some value to that. Just like when OFW added the tone rater to emails, it was like, oh, that was a big move ahead because people interpret things differently. And so if there was some consistency to that, I think it could be huge.
I agree. I had to mute myself because my husband's watching the Michigan game and I suspect they just scored a touchdown. So I spared you all the screaming in the background. But I would say the same, and I know we're over time, so I'm just going to wrap up with, I think what that's going to do, to Gary's point, it's not going to take us the human factor out of it, but it's going to give us a clue that it's time to get curious around something, right? Much as Dr. Deborah, as she always does, said so beautifully. I sense that you're feeling frustrated around this, or this is bringing up some emotion for you. Can we talk about that? So thank you, everyone. If there are any questions that we can answer that come up after, you have our contact information, and many thanks to SCMA, Taisha and Ashley. Thank you so much. And Gary, it's always a delight to do anything with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. That was terrific. It was always fun.
Thank you so much. Please join me in thanking both Susan and Gary for such a wonderful, wonderful session. So many awesome nuggets to take away. And thank you both so much.
Oh, thank you. Have a good rest of the afternoon.
Thanks,
I'm going to find
Take
out
care.
if Michigan wins.
Thanks again, Susan. Take
Bye,
care.
everybody.
Bye-bye.